How is it going, Wastelanders? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, back with another Fallout 4 What We Want video. And in today's video, we're going to be asking the question, should Fallout 4 include vehicles? That is, should the game allow us as the player to be able to drive vehicles such as cars, such as motorbikes, etc, etc. This is a topic that has come up again and again and again, and I've seen the community, from my perspective, incredibly torn on the issue. Some think it would be against the entire post-apocalyptic envisioning of the game, and others believe that you would still expect some vehicles to be operational even after a nuclear disaster. And I guess the real question to ask is that, would it take away from the atmosphere that Fallout is predominantly about? That is, would it take away from the post-apocalyptic feeling that they absolutely nailed, in my opinion, in both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas? And also, as well, to a lesser extent, would it negatively impact upon the exploration in the game? Because with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, it's a huge open world, but you're exploring it very slowly. In the vanilla game, there is no sprint key on the PC, and of course on consoles there's no sprint. So you're just walking around leisurely, you're taking your time, you're taking in the sights, you're exploring every building, you're killing people, you're visiting small towns, you're scavenging, finding ammo, armor, weapons, etc. So it's a very slow process to get through the wasteland. So perhaps the issue with vehicles is that they will take away from that. You would kind of just speed across the wasteland and potentially miss a cavalcade of secrets, of Easter eggs, of ammo, armor, other items that you can collect, factions or people that you can talk to, interesting characters that you can meet. There are so many things, at least from that point of view, that driving a vehicle would take away from. And also, I guess the second negative point is that, would it simply fit into the game? Have a look at Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and ask whether being able to drive a vehicle will actually fit into the game. Would it make sense to be able to drive a Chrysler around, or a Ford around, or something like that? In my opinion, when I think of being able to drive a vehicle in Fallout, I envision this rundown motorcycle that you have to repair to keep going. You have to try and scavenge petrol, you have to maintain it yourself, and it's just kind of this small little thing that is perhaps slow, so you're not really taking away from the explorability of the game, for the lack of a better term. And it's not just some car which you can speed around from town to town, essentially bypassing the entire exploration of the game, which I think is a huge downside to having vehicles in the conventional sense, such as in GTA, for example. And I guess addressing the broader question, do I think it fits with the post-apocalyptic feel of the game? I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to, because as I alluded to before, just because there is a nuclear disaster doesn't mean that all cars or vehicles or motorbikes, etc. become inoperational and do not work at all. Of course there are going to be cars, of course there are going to be vehicles that are able to be driven around and that are in fact operational, even with a few slight repairs here and there. And I guess the abundance of pre-war technology are an example of that. They're not necessarily affected. You could have had cars housed in warehouses or other shelters that would have been protected somewhat from the nuclear disaster. So yeah, cars littered around the road, etc. would most likely be demolished. But in terms of some cars not necessarily in the nuclear disaster or the radiation zone, or some cars housed in warehouses, wouldn't be affected. So you would ask the question, well, why aren't these cars able to be driven around, or able to be found, repaired, and then driven around rather? So that's just my opinion. I don't see there being any other negatives per se. I guess one positive that you could mention is that, yeah, you could get around faster. I know many people didn't like the entire fast travel concept, and that's why many PC mods either discourage it, and I believe there are some ones saying Fallout Wanderers Edition where you can disable it and in fact enable a motorcycle that you can drive around, which is kind of cool. But I don't believe you drive it around per se. I think you go to the motorcycle and say, alright, I want to travel to this location. But if you were to take that a step further and be like, hey, I actually want to get on this motorcycle and drive slowly around here and there, so it's a little bit faster than walking, but at least it'll be a better version of sprinting, for example. But that's just me rambling on. I probably haven't covered the points that I should have, but I would love to get your thoughts, Wastelanders, on this topic. I hope you're enjoying the Fallout 4 content, and I hope you're enjoying the Fallout 4 discussion styled videos as opposed to the top 3 styled videos and formatted videos that I used to do in the past. These are much easier for me to edit, and if you're happy for me to continue down this route, I'd be more happy on my behalf to do so. Anyways, Wastelanders, that's all from me. This has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and as always, keep fighting the good fight.